In the late 1990s, the Alaskan government decided to develop a long-forgotten piece of land. The Copper River Trail, as it was now known as, was a 200-mile stretch that connected the Kennecott Glacier to the port town of Cordova. This area had once been the Copper River Northwestern Railroad and was now a trail that cut deep into the Alaskan wilderness. Part of this development was to build government housing along the trail. A construction team was brought in and plans were quickly put together. But what they would discover was so terrifying that it would bring the entire project to a halt. Even more, the construction workers were so scared that none of them would return to work, and the development would be completely deserted. What they found were the long-forgotten ghosts of the Kennecott ghost town. This is their story. The year was 1900. Deep in the rugged expanse of Alaska's untamed wilderness, two daring souls ventured forth, driven by an insatiable thirst for adventure and the promise of unimaginable wealth. Clarence Warner and Tarantula Jack Smith, their spirits as wild as the landscape around them, roamed the rocky terrain in search of their elusive fortune. For years, Clarence and Jack had roamed the Alaskan wild, their eyes scanning every crag and crevice for signs of the precious metal they sought. Each day brought new challenges, from treacherous mountain passes to bone-chilling cold, yet their determination remained unrelenting. One fateful day, as they traversed the Wrangell mountain range, fate intervened in the form of a green field of rocks, much higher in the mountains than any meadow or green pasture should be. With hearts pounding and hands trembling, they approached the mysterious find, their senses heightened by the thrill of discovery. As they chipped away at the rock, revealing veins of green copper within, a surge of excitement rushed through them. They had unearthed a treasure beyond their wildest dreams, a bounty of copper ore waiting to be claimed. In the early 1900s, the United States experienced an unprecedented boom in the mining industry, fueled by the discovery of vast copper deposits scattered across the country. This period, known as the Copper Boom, transformed remote wilderness areas into bustling mining towns and propelled the nation into a new era of industrialization. The demand for copper skyrocketed during this time due to its essential role in electrification, urbanization, and industrial development. Copper was needed for electrical wiring, machinery, and infrastructure, making it a cornerstone of the rapidly expanding economy. As prospectors flocked to newly discovered copper-rich regions, mining camps sprang up virtually overnight, attracting thousands of workers seeking employment and opportunity. These camps evolved into thriving towns, complete with schools, hospitals, and entertainment venues, catering to the needs of the growing population. To transport the vast quantities of copper ore from these remote locations to markets and processing facilities, extensive railroad networks were constructed, crisscrossing the rugged landscape and linking mining towns to urban centers. Now that Clarence and Jack had found their rich deposit of copper, they recognized the large potential for profit, so they staked their claim and soon attracted the attention of investment partners. Stephen Birch, a recent engineering graduate, was in Alaska looking for investment opportunities in minerals. Birch partnered with the two prospectors and spent the next few years mapping the area and taking samples of the mineral deposits, concluding that the copper found in the mountains of Alaska were the richest concentration in the world. The group of men now needed the funding necessary for such a large endeavor, and quickly gained support from Daniel Guggenheim and J.P. Morgan. Altogether, the men formed the Alaska Syndicate, bringing together $30 million in capital. With financial backing secured, the Alaska Syndicate kicked off the Kennecott Copper Corporation's ambitious mining venture. The next challenge was to find a way to transport the copper out of the mountain peaks. What would follow was a remarkable feat of engineering for the early 20th century. A railway that would defy the odds and connect a remote mining community to the outside world. The Copper River and Northwestern Railway, commonly known as the CR&NW, or simply the Can't Run and Never Will, was born out of the need to transport copper ore from the rich mines of the Kennecott region to the port city of Cordova, over 196 miles away. Construction of the railway began in 1906, amidst the rugged wilderness of the Wrangell and Chugach Mountains. The task was monumental, with crews facing treacherous terrain, unpredictable weather, and harsh environmental conditions. Despite the challenges, engineers and laborers persevered, employing innovative engineering techniques to conquer the formidable landscape. Bridges spanned rushing rivers, tunnels pierced through solid rock, and miles of track were laid across ever-moving glaciers. Dozens of men would lose their lives, as valley-crossing trusses would collapse on a regular basis, or an avalanche would sweep them away. Despite all of the loss and setback, the project would push on. One of the most recognizable pieces of the railway is the Miles Glacier Bridge, also known as the $1,000,000 Bridge. This bridge spans 1,500 feet across the Copper River, built to withstand the river's 7-mile-per-hour current and icebergs that could reach heights of 20 feet. The bridge gets its $1,000,000 nickname based on how much it was assumed to cost. But in reality, it was sure to cost much more than that. Finally, in 1911, the Copper River and Northwestern Railway was complete, marking a triumph of human ingenuity and determination. The inaugural journey of the first train from Kennecott to Cordova heralded a new era of prosperity for the region, as copper ore could now be transported swiftly and efficiently to waiting ships bound for markets around the world. Now that a way to transport the copper was in place, attention turned to developing the mining city of Kennecott. Kennecott started off as a base camp for the developing mines in the area. The single deposit that Clarence and Jack discovered quickly expanded into 5 mines, all transporting their supply back through Kennecott. The 5 mines were the Bonanza, Jumbo, Mother Lode, Erie, and Glacier. All of the mines were connected through tunnels underground except for Glacier, which was an open pit ore mine. The mined ore would be transported through the tunnels and out onto overhead trams. These trams would travel from the entrances of Jumbo and Bonanza down into Kennecott. The enormous 14-story mill played a pivotal role in preparing the ore for shipment. The processed ore was then placed into 140-pound sacks, put onto steel flat cars, and transported by train down into the port of Cordova. As the mines were being developed, the base camp quickly grew into a mining city, growing with the needed infrastructure to support the 5 mines. Construction of a concentration mill, flotation plant, hospital, power plant, and housing for the many miners and their families were all underway. The new booming city was attracting a diverse workforce, including immigrants from Europe, Asia, and elsewhere in the United States. Despite the harsh conditions and isolation of the Alaskan wilderness, Kennecott flourished, boasting amenities such as a hospital, school, post office, and even a hockey rink. However, prosperity was not without its challenges. The harsh climate and rugged terrain posed constant threats to the safety and well-being of the miners. Avalanches, landslides, and extreme weather conditions were ever-present dangers, claiming the lives of several workers over the years. Despite these hazards, the lure of wealth and opportunity continued to draw miners to Kennecott. The peak of Kennecott's prosperity coincided with the outbreak of World War I, during which demand for copper surged as the nation ramped up its industrial production. However, as the war drew to a close and copper prices fluctuated, the fortunes of Kennecott began to decline. By the late 1920s, falling copper prices, combined with the depletion of high-grade ore deposits, led to a scale back of the mine and eventually its closure. With the closure of the mine, the town of Kennecott slowly but steadily succumbed to the ravages of time. Families packed up their belongings and moved on, leaving behind empty homes and abandoned dreams. In the 1960s, a team was deployed to investigate reopening the mines and shipping ore out by air. But the research team concluded that the majority of rich ore deposits had already been mined, and the cost of the endeavor would outweigh the benefit. As nature reclaimed the land, the once bustling streets grew silent, save for the eerie whispers of the wind as it swept through the decaying buildings. Further development was explored in the 1990s, when the Alaskan government began a government housing initiative that would use the land along the Copper Railway for affordable housing. The plans were all drawn up, and a construction team was deployed to begin clearing the area and construct new homes along the trail. This project never progressed very far before strange occurrences began to take place. The first sign of trouble was workers would notice gravestones off the trail, only to return to the area later, and the gravestones would be completely gone. The workers found this odd, but nothing they couldn't ignore, so the work continued. Soon after, they would start to hear footsteps coming up behind them, only to turn around and nobody would be there. This would then escalate into tools coming up missing from their toolboxes, and later tools stolen right off of their belts. The final straw for most of the workers was the phantom sightings of people on the trail, only for them to disappear right in front of their eyes. The sightings and events became too much for the workers, and the project was stopped, and eventually completely shut down. It was as if the spirits of Kennecott and the Copper Railroad wanted to keep the area to themselves. Today, Kennecott stands as a ghost town, frozen in time amidst the rugged beauty of the Alaskan wilderness. Visitors who brave the journey to its desolate streets can feel the weight of history pressing down upon them, as if the spirits of those who once called this place home still linger among the shadows. It is open to visitors, and tourists regularly make the 4-hour drive from Anchorage to the deep forests to have a glimpse into the Alaskan past. To this day, the town of Kennecott has remained abandoned. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Haunted Origins. We have a special request for you today. If there is a haunted place that you would like us to explore, please see the email link in the description below, and we will do our best to add it to our episode list. And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our latest episode.